Is brought to you by Farm Bureau Insurance. Bundle your auto and home insurance and save with Farm Bureau Insurance. Favorites.com. Go local. Go with the home team. We're live in the Bank Plus studio. This is 105.9 The Zone, ESPN, the Out of Bounds show. NFL draft in the books. Elijah Moore, 34th pick to the New York Jets. So the Jets picked Zach Wilson out of BYU as their quarterback with the second pick. Then they picked a guard. And then they picked Elijah Moore in the second round, second pick. And, you know, that could be a good spot. People are already talking about, what they could do together. I think that's kind of cool. A lot of people like Zach Wilson out of BYU, quarterback. Elijah Moore, people thought would go into the first round. I didn't think that there was any doubt that he was first-round talent with the way the game is played today. Thought that was a good opportunity to go between 21 and 32. But 34 is awesome, too. And so he will go to the New York Jets. Kylin Hill went in the 7th round to the Green Bay Packers. And I think it's safe to say that Kylin cost himself about 4 rounds. Combination of the Mullen to Moorhead transition, Moorhead not holding him accountable. He took advantage of that. Things unraveled last year. And but he got drafted. He'll make a team. Blake told me that somebody had him comped as Marion Barber.
The guy we're having on at 9:30. Thor. Had him comped as Marion Barber.
Love that name. Thor. Okay.
And he'll play behind
who?
Royce Newman, who got drafted with pick 142 in the 4th round by the Green Bay Packers.
And Elton Jenkins is already there
they
from
had
Mississippi State.
4 state guys on that roster already in Green Bay. Now they pick up Kylin Hill.
Preston Smith, Elton Jenkins.
Will Redmond.
Oh, Redmond's still playing.
One more guy.
Didn't know that.
The long snapper. I can't remember his name. I always forget his name. But the long snapper got drafted by Green Bay a few years ago out of Mississippi State, and he's still Bradley, maybe something like that.
Okay.
Anyway, he's on there.
Now that's a good gig to make $700,000 a year
and play about 7 snaps a game. Yeah.
Oh man, now that's a good gig.
Yeah.
$700,000 a year to be the long snapper.
Yeah, that's a good deal. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. I mean, you are in Green Bay, which is like, yeah.
Yeah. No, I get that, but you don't have to be there long.
No.
Well, you know what I mean. I mean, you get 4 months away. Probably,
Hunter Bradley. That's the long snapper.
Hunter Bradley.
Yeah,
sounds like a PGA golfer.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%.
Okay.
Or your Farm Bureau agent.
Yeah.
Down
Hunter
the
Bradley.
road. Yeah.
We'll take care of you in Kosciuszko.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
So they've got now 6 Mississippi guys, and who knows what other practice squad and undrafted free agent stuff. But yeah, just drafted 2 more, one from State and one from Ole Miss. They like the Mississippi kids up there in Green
snapper.
Bay.
You know, Tom Luganbill, who comes on this show. Actually, he's not coming on today. He'll come on tomorrow.
9:30.
Luganbill, who played quarterback at Georgia Tech.
Still funny to me.
And his dad, this is before they were running the triple.
He just doesn't. You look at him, you don't think Georgia Tech quarterback.
Right.
Yeah.
And so his dad, longtime coach. And Luganbill's been training his son as a long snapper.
Smart.
Yeah.
Smart.
And he's been doing it for several years.
It's not a bad gig.
Yeah. And so
there's a rule. They can't even hit you.
Yeah, see, now they can't take your knee out to where you can tear an ACL. They're kind of, you're right, they're protecting that position. Interesting.
Aaron Nagler, who is a NFL draft analyst and somewhat of a funny guy on Twitter. He's the founder of Cheesehead TV. So, he's a big Wisconsin Green Bay guy, right? He goes, Royce Newman drafted, baby. More protection for Jordan Love.
All right, let's go over that real quick. Well, first, according to several NFL draft experts, the Dallas Cowboys had a crappy draft. So Blake Scott's Dallas Cowboys, where Dak Prescott is, according to several people who follow this year-round, the Cowboys had the 27th best draft in the NFL.
Certainly wasn't in the top 5.
So between Jerry jet-setting around the world and going to dinner every night at some of the most fabulous places in the world, I don't know why he didn't know exactly who to pick compared to the guys that are, doing this. It's like Michael Jordan, right? How's Michael Jordan going to know who to draft if he's down the Bahamas playing golf 4 days a week? But anyway, hopefully they can overcome that and still compete for a playoff spot. But I'm looking at one draft grade after another that's got your Cowboys in like the D range.
Yeah.
Hot shot.
That's about right.
Is anybody awake in the Star other than Dak?
Look, you know what they did? They did what the Panthers did last year in that they spent their first 6 picks on defense.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Was that a little overboard? I understand they were awful on defense. And prior to Dak's injury, Dak was having to throw they were having to generate over 500 yards to even stay in games.
I would say I thought they would take an offensive lineman before they did.
Yeah.
That's the only offensive position that right now you're looking for instant impact from, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
I got a question.
Very few people were coming on the field to start at any other position.
Do you think Jerry is at the Star right now working on next year's draft?
No.
Okay.
Lord, no.
But he is getting ready to do a radio hit later in the morning.
But most GMs aren't working
on
next year's draft.
To talk about the list. Hey, how do you know that?
No, there are probably they have people who start working on next year's draft right now.
Right.
Most of those GMs are doing this is probably their least favorite part of the job. It's where they have to stand and pose for pictures, right? Because they're bringing all their draft picks in.
Yeah.
They're doing all that stuff. It's probably
That's what Jerry's getting ready to do.
It's their least favorite. It's Jerry's favorite part. It's everyone else's least favorite part.
Right. Jerry's ready. Jerry Jones is ready for the photo op this morning with all their picks. And then he'll do a hit on whatever they are, 105.3 The Fan or something. And he'll talk about all the players because somebody will have a piece of paper in front of him. And there you go. Dallas Cowboys. Some think they were in the D range. Some people F. And then some of the teams that usually don't draft well received A's. Look at the Miami Dolphins and Detroit Lions up at the top. And, Attorney Chuck. NFL Chuck's Cleveland Browns. A lot of people thought they had the first, second, third best draft over the weekend. So there you go. Out of bounds, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. The SEC Insider Hit is brought to you by Farm Bureau Insurance. Bundle your auto and home and save with your local Farm Bureau Insurance agent. You're listening to 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. We're streaming live on the Out of Bounds radio app. You can watch the show right now on YouTube or Facebook. And we welcome in Steve Robertson, genespage.com, the Boneyard Podcast. He joins us on the Modelo guest line. Steve, before we get into baseball, Kylin Hill to the Packers. I think he cost himself about 4 rounds. Just a combination of the Mullen to Moorhead transition, and then, he kind of lost his way. Moorhead allowed him to do it. He did it too. But I think he could have been a 3rd-round pick had Mullen stayed. But I also think that he'll make the team because he is, big-time talent. How do you see Kylin Hill going to the Packers in the 7th round?
Well, I think there's a lot of value for the Packers there because they get a guy that can probably come in and be a 2 or 3rd team guy that, at next to nothing. I mean, it's a 7th round pick, and so the allocation salary-wise is not going to be maybe commiserate with his abilities. And I think the main thing with Kylin is, he's got to go in there and just simply fly straight, go in there and do what he knows to do, use his ability, do what the coaching staff asks him to do, and he's got a good chance to make that roster. I mean, he's not your typical 7th-round guy from a talent standpoint. So if he can go in there and do what he's supposed to do, I expect him to make the team as well. He's not above going down on special teams and blowing somebody up either. So I could see him making that team and hanging around for a little while.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's great value. And it's still not bad to make $650,000 in year one if he does make the team, and I think we fully expect him to do so. Before we get to baseball again, Braden Locke, quarterback out of Texas, commits to Leach in MSU. What can you tell our audience about that?
Well, number one, I think he's probably the best available prospect that Mississippi State could have gotten this year, considering what they signed last year. I mean, basically you have 3 freshman quarterbacks on the roster right now. And so whoever comes in understands that coming in. This is not a depth chart that is maybe advantageous for me. I'm going to have to go in there and compete and win the job. And so, and to be honest with you, that's what you want. You want a guy that's not scared of the depth chart. But at the same time, too, I can understand why some quarterbacks maybe look at Mississippi State and say, you know what, my chances of me playing are probably a little bit greater somewhere else. So Braden Locke elects to come on in. He's a Mike Leach fan. He understands the air raid concepts. And so in the end, it was Mississippi State and North Carolina. He took unofficial visits to both schools for their spring games. There was a lot of chatter before he went to Chapel Hill that he would wait and take his officials. After getting back from Chapel Hill, he made the call. He actually committed to Mississippi State last Monday and kind of took some time to get in contact with other schools to thank them for recruiting them and kind of inform them the decision personally rather than, finding out on social media. And then he put a little video together and made the announcement over the weekend. And so now this is your quarterback for the Mississippi State 2022 signing class.
Okay. All right, Steve Robertson, Boneyard Podcast, 247 Sports Genes page on the Modelo guest line. Mississippi State swept A&M over the weekend. Could have easily lost the first two games. But they're doing what they need to do. I mean, they have a really good record. They swept. It's hard to win in the league, even though A&M may not be that good. They still have some players. What did you make of the series, Steve? Is there cause for concern, or how do you see it?
Well, the first thing that I'll say, I thought Texas A&M played exceptionally hard. Especially after losing that first game, it would have been very easy for them to just kind of mail in the rest of the series. And, of course, they're trying to make it in Hoover. But, they throw their best starter, their best long reliever, and their closer all in game one, and then you don't get it. And that could be completely deflating. You got to come out and play two on Saturday. So if they had just kind of shown up and gone through the motions, I don't think anybody would have been surprised. But that's not what happened. They came in and really competed hard. Now, a lot of the issues, if you go back and really work through the ball game, especially those first two ball games, Mississippi State aided in their own demise. Even though you're able to kind of overcome that and win, that's the stuff that I think really frustrates Mississippi State fans. It's like, we're number 4 team in the country. We're trending towards a top 8 national seed. We're a game out of first place in the SEC with 9 games to play. Can we stop doing the silly stuff that gets us in trouble? Can we stop booting the ball around? Can we stop walking people? Can we stop the hit by pitches? If you go back and look at McLeod, the next to last inning he had, he's out there rolling ground balls, and you can't make plays behind him. And so in order for this team to take the next step and really be a bona fide national championship contender, you got to shore up some of this defensive stuff, and you got to stop issuing free passes. And I understand some of that's part of baseball, but this is probably one of the best chances that Mississippi State has had to go to Omaha and win a national championship. And the reason that I say that is there is no dominant team in college baseball right now. There's a lot of parity in the top 10. So it's going to be about getting there and then getting hot. Mm-hmm. And so if State can get there, there's not a bracket you look at and say, I would hate to be in that bracket. Arkansas in that bigger ballpark, I think you're probably okay. You get another shot at Vandy. It could go either way. Every one of those games is basically a coin flip once you get in that top 8. And so that's why I think State's really got to work hard to be sure they host the postseason, because once you get to Omaha, anything could happen.
Steve Robertson on the Modelo guest line. So did we misread this season, thinking that so many of these guys in the league decided to come? Well, they had to come back because of COVID and the 5 rounds in MLB, and we thought that we would have more dominant teams, because I agree, it looks like a bunch of good, but I don't see dominance yet, Steve, in the league.
Well, I do think there's some people that misread it. But, here's the thing is, State had some guys come back, as did Ole Miss do. So it's kind of around the country. You've got some veteran guys that were able to come back. And so I think it's a level playing field in that respect. I don't think anybody really gained a true advantage. Now, Mississippi State, early on, there was a lot of talk about depth. But if you look at the guys that came back, Spencer Price and Riley Self, Riley out now for the year, Spencer not really contributing. And so, yeah, they were helpful early on in the non-conference, but they're not the guys that are contributing now. The guys that are out there contributing now are guys that would have been here anyway. And so I just don't know how much we really gained, but there is just so much parity this year in college baseball. It's exciting to watch, and I think there's a lot of people out there that say, you know what, we got a shot. If we can get there, we got a shot to do something we've never done before.
All right, Steve Robertson on the Out of Bounds Show, genespage.com, updating you on all 3 major sports on a daily basis. plus his podcast, the Boneyard Podcast. What about walk our listeners through what happens May? Is it May 10th, next Monday, when they'll announce whatever they'll announce from the NCAA on the regionals?
Right. Yeah. So here's what we've been told. Okay, so and of course Mississippi State will be coming back from South Carolina, and that's a big series, probably the last big hurdle for State in the regular season. Because South Carolina's really good in their own ballpark. I think they're 18-5 in their own ballpark, and so it's going to be a test to go up there. And I expect State to win the series, and if State is really serious about winning this SEC thing, they probably need to go sweep. But be that as it may, next Monday is when they're going to announce 20 potential regional sites. Now, initially it was supposed to be the 16, but I'm told there was some concern about, especially on the back end of the field. What if you have, regional sites 14, 15, and 16, and all of a sudden, the final month of the season, those teams go into tank, and potentially you could have somebody that, is, probably a 2 seed in their own regional, or maybe not even make the tournament. And so they gave themselves some wiggle room and opened it up and said, okay, we're going to go 20 potential regional sites. There'll be a pool of 20, and then we'll announce 16 from those 20. But they want those 20 to have an opportunity to prepare for COVID testing protocols and how quickly they can get things back. And so you give them some advance notice, then you select your 16, and then we kind of go from there. And we'll seed the field, of course, after the conference tournaments.
Okay, if MSU loses 2 or 3 this weekend, where do you think they land on Monday, May 10th, next Monday?
Oh, still very much a host side. I mean, I don't think there's any question. I think, short of State losing these last 3 series, I don't think there's any question State's going to host and be a top 8 national seed. I think they've done enough at this point that just a bump in the road this weekend is not going to prevent them from hosting. And I think, too, once you're in that pool of 20, let's say you did lose a series this weekend, and then you sweep Mizzou and sweep Alabama, well, you're right back where you were. And so I think these last 9 ball games, State could probably go 7-9 and finish 21-9 in the league, or 7-2, excuse me, 7-2 in the last 9 games and finish 20. Yeah, so if you're 21-9, you're a top 8 national seed, because there have been years when you've been 18-12 in the SEC and been a top 8 national seed. So if you're 20 plus wins in the SEC, you're going to be a top 8 national seed. There's no doubt about it.
All right, if they win 2 or 3 this weekend, you're saying they are a top 8 national seed, right?
I think even if they win 1 of 3, I think State's going to be a top 8 national seed, really, no matter what happens this weekend.
Okay.
I think the rest of the schedule is so favorable.
You got to give them credit.
State's going to be 20. Yeah, no doubt about it.
Okay. Steve Robertson, 247 Sports, genespage.com on the Out of Bounds show. Let's talk about the lineup. Tanner Allen and Rowdy, have been pretty darn consistent. Took Rowdy a little while. Obviously, Tanner's been really good. Cumbus may be coming around in left. Tanner Allen has some pop at the plate, doing some things. If Luke Hancock at DH and the other 2 I just mentioned, Cumbus and Tanner, Logan Tanner, start to do just a little bit more, how do you see the lineup that has struggled at times at the plate and I think left 39 people on base over the weekend, but it could get a little bit better? What do you see, Steve?
Well, it's about timely hitting. And you make a good point there. State actually had 37 hits on the weekend and then left an army of people on base. And so that's one of the reasons that A&M was able to stay as close as they were. Is State just simply couldn't get the timely hit until late in game 1. But, Cumbus is now hitting, 375, which is ridiculous to think. That's where he is. And, he's a guy, too. Once he recognizes spin and doesn't chase that breaking ball in the dirt and he gets into an advantage count, if you make a mistake with him, you're going to end up on the SEC network, because he is a big, strong kid that can really turn on the baseball. But the thing about baseball is there's so many guys, too, that are so streaky. There was a time there where Cam James was as hot as anybody in the league, and then all of a sudden he cools off a little bit. Rowdy gets going. And so it's about getting all the horses pulling at the same time. I do think, honestly, having Tanner Leggett in the ball game defensively is good for Mississippi State. He is a true utility guy that has played all 4 spots in the infield. Started out a lot at second base. And to be honest with you, I don't know how DeBrule got the job back, because when Tanner Leggett was out there, he was hitting the baseball. He was getting on base. He was a very, very gutsy defender. He's also played some at first. And so I think him playing at third, maybe you let Cam James DH for a couple ball games to kind of figure some things out, because, State, again, we talked about some of the silliness, and you've had a lot of infield errors. And so when you have Tanner out there, he is a guy that I think is a plus defender. He's not a tremendous offensive player, but he's a guy that'll get up there and fight for you in the batter's box. And he was involved in a couple of big rallies on Saturday. But I think Mississippi State can kind of solidify this lineup defensively. I think they can really make a strong run here in the month of May.
And so you expect Leggett to play more and more down the stretch at third or a combo of first and third?
Yeah, I think that's the luxury that he gives you. Is, he even played shortstop when Forsythe was sick, and of course, we had to pull Forsythe, after one at bat, and everybody thinks something's wrong with him. I mean, yeah, something was wrong. He just had a little temporary bug there, but so you've had Leggett start at third, you've had Leggett start at second, and he's been a defensive replacement at short at first. Now, I just think he is a guy that gives this staff a comfort level to know, we're going to be able to make the routine play. May not always be able to make a spectacular play with Leggett out there, but this is a guy that's not going to hurt us defensively. This is a guy that's going to field the ball, get a good grip on it, make a good decision, make a good throw. And if you go back and look at some of the State struggles, that's what it's led to. And just like with McLeod, I mean, everybody's kind of on Christian, and listen, he's got to pitch better. I'm not excusing that. But if you go back and look at the two times he's been in trouble recently, it's been because his defense hadn't been able to make plays behind him. You get that done, I think that helps shore up some of the pitching concerns as well.
I got 1 minute. Out of Tanner Leggett, Luke Hancock, and Josh Hatcher, between first, third, and DHing, give me the two of the three that are going to play more innings the next 6 weeks.
Well, Luke Hancock is going to be in the lineup every day. There's no question about that. Whether he is playing at first base or DH, he's going to be in the lineup every day. And I think Hatcher is a guy that's been a really good defender, for the most part. I mean, there's some times his footwork and his stretching ability is not exactly what it should be, but he has been a liability at the bat. I think Tanner Leggett gives you better swings. I think Tanner probably gets more bats than Hatcher does down the stretch.
All right. Steve Robertson, the Boneyard Podcast, and genespage.com. Steve joined us on the Modelo guest line. Steve, thanks for jumping on early. Appreciate it. Out of Bounds, 105.9 The Zone, ESPN. Your SEC Insider hit this morning is brought to you by favorites.com, Farm Bureau Insurance. You want to save some money? Bundle your auto and home and save with your local Farm Bureau insurance agent in any of the 82 counties in the state of Mississippi, right? From DeSoto County down to Hancock County. Farm Bureau Insurance, favorites.com. That's F-A-V-E, favorites.com. Bundle your auto and home and save with your local Farm Bureau insurance agent. Dave Bartu at 8:30. Welcome in. Good morning. Hour number 2.